In our mission to push ABQ forward, tonight we focus on our children.
We all know good education is paramount to setting our kids up for success, but what we're doing now is not working. Our state has the worst graduation rate in the country.
But what if we could change that by looking at how we discipline our kids in school? Colton Schoen reports on a program starting at Albuquerque Public Schools this year.
What if there was something our community could do to keep kids out of trouble and prevent them from committing crime? Instead, keep them safe, helping them grow to become productive members of our society, ultimately walking the path to success. What if the solution lies in two words: restorative justice?
It's a way to look at discipline without actually kicking kids out of schools.
Dr. Christine Muir with Albuquerque Public Schools says restorative justice involves a lot of relationship building and mediating between fighting students, or even an action plan between an unruly student and teacher. It's seen as positive discipline rather than something negative like suspension.
And the more often a student is suspended, the higher the chance that they'll end up in prison. And so by reducing those suspensions, it should begin to reduce that school to prison pipeline.
Here's the good news. APS just received $4.3 million in grant money from the National Institute of Justice to research the effects of restorative justice on 12 middle schools here in Albuquerque. For the first 2 years, they're going to focus their efforts on Kennedy Middle School, George I. Sanchez, Jefferson, Taylor, Ernie Pyle, and Truman. And the second years after that, they are going to focus on 6 more, and that will be Hayes, Jackson, Grant, Polk, Tony Hillerman, and Washington Middle School.
I dropped out of school, and that's when everything went downhill.
16-year-old Juliana Garcia found herself caught up in the juvenile court system, charged with possession, even battery on a household member. She and her mom believe if they had positive interventions at school, maybe they wouldn't be here.
So I got suspended, and I decided I didn't want to go back. And I haven't been in school for 2 years. I was out on the streets thinking I was a grown woman, thinking I can do whatever I wanted.
Make them pick up garbage around the school, or, do something like that instead of making them out of the school. Then it leads into trouble. That's what it is.
Juliana says she is trying to get her life back on track and be a better role model for her 13-year-old sister.
I make sure she goes to school. I tell her, don't follow in my footsteps, because I know I'm older than her and she looks up to me. So she can't follow in my footsteps.
Dr. Muir says by the time most of these kids get to high school, it's too late.
Kids tend to get suspended more often in middle schools.
According to APS, from 2011 to 2015, 54% of out-of-school suspensions happened in middle schools, followed by 36% in high school and 9% in elementary. But could this idea actually work? Our quest for answers takes us 450 miles north to Denver, Colorado. Restorative Justice Colorado was established in 2008 by lawmakers here at the Colorado State Capitol. Now, since then, it's expanded from just being in the juvenile court system to schools all across the state.
We're one of the first districts in the nation to really embrace restorative practices.
Dr. Eldridge Greer with Denver Public Schools, a district with 92,000 students, says over the last 10 years, the suspension rate dropped 67%, and students who had restorative intervention were 70% less likely to have another infraction.
Our research and national research really shows that even being suspended one time can alter the trajectory pretty powerfully for our kids. Both in terms of increased dropout, lack of academic attainment, lack of connection and engagement to school.
The principal here at Dunston Middle School in Lakewood, Colorado says that all the teachers employ talking circles. That's where they sit the students in a circle together once a week and they talk, saying that it fosters a sense of community and also teaches them empathy.
Restorative justice tends to be more optional.
Jen Gallegos sits on the Colorado Restorative Justice Council. She works as a specialist at Dunston and helps train other schools.
We had a student who did some damage to a library once, had snuck in at night and vandalized the library, and so he spent
time, and this was in another district, by the way, but he spent time, you know, repairing and fixing and time with a librarian and working on that relationship and repairing all of the damage that he did in that library.
Of course, she said restorative justice isn't appropriate for everything, like sexual assaults, weapons, or drugs brought to school. But she says whenever mediation can happen, it should.
I think it teaches students how to manage conflicts in a positive way, and frankly, it teaches adults how to manage conflict in a positive way.
Back to our city of Albuquerque. APS officials say that this is a big planning year for them. They hired a manager and coordinator to work with schools and to find out what works and what doesn't. Also, to figure out a way to sustain restorative justice and how to move it to elementary and even high schools. Colton Schoen, KOB Eyewitness News 4.